Well, that's terrible.
But
We still got plans with them.
you didn't have
How
to.
did she get forgiven?
We don't really cut off.
How was she forgiven? Did she will?
Good Shabbos. Ooh, wow, how's that for loud? We are beginning on page number 5. The Shalom Aleichem is on page number 5. It's always a good greeting. On page number 5, the Shalom Aleichem, it originates, of course, as a song, a poem, and then people took hold of those first 2 words and incorporated them into daily speech. And so when a Jewish person sees another Jewish person, he goes up to her or she goes up to him. Shalom Aleichem. And what's the etiquette in terms of the correct response? If I say Shalom Aleichem, you say Aleichem Shalom. Why? It indicates that you heard me. If I say Shalom Aleichem and I don't get a response, then instead of jumping to the conclusion that I'm being ignored, which can set in motion all types of upset and the beginning of a grudge, my goodness, he ignored me, she didn't want to talk with me, we give people the benefit of the doubt, he or she must have not heard me. So to rule out that he or she didn't hear me, we do something that takes a little bit of an extra effort of attention and focus. We invert the greeting when responding. And therefore, when I say Shalom Aleichem, you say, and therefore, we both know we've been heard and attended to. It's a very small element, but it indicates a significant worldview. That we wish to be greeted, we wish to be honored, and we want to rule out the possibility that somebody is ignoring us. We want to jump to the conclusion, if that's the right term, I don't know what it is. We want to jump to the conclusion, we want to make sure that somebody is not inadvertently doing something that might cause us upset in our own minds. Because we always presume that every Jewish person on the planet is going to be respectful and kind and welcoming. It would be... No, that's the point of this whole element, that we don't want to even allow for the possibility that one Jew would ignore another Jew. We want to rule that out of possibility. That's the idea. Understood. Understood. I didn't explain it well. There it is, avoiding the appearance. Exactly right. There it is. Thank you. Better said than me. Absolutely. Thank you. Amen. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Ashoret, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Ani l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And on page 10, Yedid Nefesh. Page 10. This is a mystical poem, and the sense of this poem is that every one of us bears within the self a spark from God. You and I might use the term soul, but I think the Yedid Nefesh is speaking of a spark. And when we hear the term spark, Not too far away from spark is flame. There's a verse in the Bible from the book of Proverbs that the flame of God is the soul of a person. The flame of God is the soul of a person. So when we use the term spark, insert within your own mind the idea that it is a spark from God, and that becomes your soul, not only a breath, but a source of illumination. Yedi nefesh. Yedi nefesh avarachaman mishavdach el ritzonach yarotz avdach kemo ayal yishtachaveh mohadarach ki erav lo yedidotach minofet suf vechol tam hadur naeh ziv olam nafshi cholat avotach Ona elna refana la biharot la noam zivach os titchazek v'titrape v'hayatalach Shifchat olam, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da da da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da da da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da da da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da da da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da da da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da. On page 11. L'choneranen al Adonai, nari al etzur yishenu, nikadma fana b'torah, bismiro nari alo, nikadma fana b'torah, bismiro nari alo, ki el gadol Adonai umelech gadol al kol Elohim asher biyado meckerei aretz v'toaf otarim lo asher biyado meckerei aretz v'toaf otarim lo. Great is Adonai, a greater sovereign than all other deities. God's hands form the earth's deep. Mountain crests, too, are God's work. The sea is God's, for God made it. Dry land was fashioned by God's hands. Come then, let us bow and kneel. Let us bend our knees in the presence of Adonai, who formed us. On page 12. For Adonai is our God, and we are God's flock, sheep in God's caring hands. If only you would listen today to God's voice and not become hard-hearted like the people in Merivah, like that time at Massah in the desert, when your ancestors tried me and tested me, though they had seen what I had wrought. For 40 years I was troubled by that generation, and I said, these are people whose hearts have gone astray. They do not know my way. So in anger I swore they would not enter my rest. Some of us grew up on a siddur, a black cover, composed by Rabbi Morris Silverman. And the phrase that I learned when I was a child because we went to services was, harden not your hearts as you did at Meribah and Massah. Do you remember that phrase? Harden not your hearts as you did at Meribah and Massah. And that phrase defined, perhaps 30 or 40 years of American conservative synagogue life, as much as in the Shema, teach the words diligently to thy children. Do you remember that phrase? That was that siddur. Morris Silverman authored that siddur, composed the siddur in the early 1940s. And it was the identifier for hundreds of synagogues for decades. He died a number of years ago. Just this past week, his son died. And so we have a transition of generations of people whose voices were intermingled with our own. Yes, he was a rabbi too. Hillel. I never met either one, and we're not related. Silverman mit the V's, Silberman mit the Bays. Still, may their memories be a blessing. And when we say these words, the Hebrew, an older English, a modern English, remember that we're echoing the words not only of one generation ago, 2 generations ago, but of 20 generations ago, 30 generations ago, in some cases, 100 generations ago. On page 16. 16. 16. Worshippers of idols, be shamed for praising false gods. All that is deemed supreme bow before God. Zion hears of it and rejoices. The cities of Judah exult. As you, Adonai, pass judgment. You, Adonai, are above all that is earthly, exalted over all that is worshipped as divine. Those who love Adonai hate evil. God protects the lives of the faithful, saving them from the hands of the sinful. Light is sown for the righteous, and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name. Or Zerul at Tzadik Yishralev Simcha, Simchu Tzadikim Baranai, Vodu Lezecher Kodsho. A song sheet, Holy Ground. We're on holy ground this day when we come into Shul, when we bring our minds and our focus into a community. We transform the world in which we are. We change this space. Holy ground.
Every second, every minute, every hour, every day, everything, everyone, every place, every way. Where you walk, where you stand, where you love, where you praise. All of life is holy ground. Every he, every she, every what, every who. It's in her, it's in them, it's in me, it's in you. In the bitter, in the sweet, in the calm, in the storm. All of life is holy ground. So walk as if it's holy ground. Breathe as if it's all around. Talk and make a holy sound. Take shoes off, you're on holy ground. When you hurt, when you heal, when you laugh, when you pray, when you hold, when you keep, when you give it away, every second, every minute, every hour, every day, all of life is holy ground. So walk as if it's holy ground. Breathe as if it's all around. Talk and make a holy sound. We take our shoes off, we're on holy ground. We are one people, one story, one tapestry we weave, one journey, one glory, one legacy we leave. Every second, every minute, every hour, every day, everything, everyone, every place, every way, where you walk, where you stand, where you love, where you praise, all of life is holy ground. Can you feel the holy ground? Take your shoes off, you're on holy ground.
L'Charodi, on page 23, 3 stanzas. On page 25, the concluding 3 stanzas. L'chadodi lekrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'chadodi lekrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Ishmiyanu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litila. L'chadodi lekrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'chadodi lekrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lekrat Shabbat l'chuvanelcha, ki mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. L'chadodi lekrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'chadodi lekrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, komitzi mitoch hafecha, Rav lach shevet b'yemek habacha, v'o yachmol Allah yechemla. L'chadodi lekrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'chadodi lekrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nikabela. V'hayu limshisa shosayich, v'rachaku kol mivalayich, yasis alayich Elohayich, kimsos chatan al kala. L'chadodi Lechadodi lekrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi lekrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Yamino small tiferotzi, Viet Adonai taritzi, Al Yadish ben partzi, Venismecha ben agila, Lechadodi lekrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela, Lechadodi lekrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Bo'i v'shalom ateret bala, Gam besimcha u'betzahala, Toch emunei am sgula, Bo'i chala, Bo'i chala. Lechadodi lekrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela, Lechadodi lekrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Remaining standing for a moment. You know, right after Lechadodi, for which we rise, we have the Psalm for Shabbat. Lechadodi is recent, only 500 years ago. Now on page 27 and 28, the Mizmor, the Psalm for Shabbat, now we're talking. That's 3,000 years old. Somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 years ago, our tradition developed that this psalm be recited on Shabbat, Friday night and Shabbos morning. So it's nicknamed the Psalm for Shabbos. So we just rose because in the 1500s, they developed this mystical tradition of actually opening the door and going outside and greeting Shabbat, playing off of, here's the Psalm for Shabbos. So we stood up, we faced the door, Shabbos is now here, and the Psalm puts forth this message. It's on page 28. The second stanza down, wild bull is a metaphor, great power. As a wild bull raises up its horn, you raised my head high with that great power. You, O God, are this close, but you lifted me aloft. You raised my head high, and you anointed it with fresh oil. Keep going. As my enemies gather against me, my gaze remains steady, for my ears listen and hear. God is this close to lift me up with great power, to anoint me, to dedicate me to being close to God. And by this anointment, the promise is for you and me. The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai. They flourish in our God's courtyards, which really means us. They is poetic, but it's we. The psalm is talking about us, that we are flourishing in God's own courtyard. How exciting is that? And the Psalm for Shabbat is telling us this. That's why we stood up. In old age, they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no flaw. Remaining standing, Borchu, on page 39b. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach. Baruch Adonai hamavorach le'olam voed. We are seated. The first bracha aloud, please, on 39b on the English side. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space. You completed your work of creation on the seventh day, calling this day from one evening to the next the holy Shabbat, and gave this day of rest in all its holiness to your people Israel, creator of day and night, rolling light before darkness and darkness from light, making day pass and bringing on the evening, distinguishing day from night. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk. El Chai B'Kayam, Tamidim Lo Chalen Olam Voed. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'arif Aravim. The song sheet, Love Your God. On the song sheet, Love Your God.
Love your God with all your heart, with all your strength, with all your soul. Love your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul. Where you live, where you lie, where you stumble, where you thrive, with all you speak, with all you know, with all your soul. Be like God, one like God, in love and life. Be like God, love like God, with all your heart, with all your might, with all your soul. When you seek, when you soar, when you breathe and breathe no more, love your God, be with God, go with God.
Ve'avotecha al tasir mimenu li'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 41. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha. Veshinantam levanecha, vedibarta bam, veshivtecha beveitecha, uvalektecha vaderech, uveshachbecha v'kumecha, ukishartam laot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, uktavtam al mizuzot beitecha uvisharecha. A few moments of silence, the Hebrew, the English, the poetry on pages 41 and 42. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Top of page 44. Before we begin the Michamocha, again, I'm still thinking about Rabbi Morris Silverman, the author of that very famous Siddur that defined Jewish life for 40 years. And now his son recently died. Aliyah Shalom, peace upon their memories. And I grew up in that Siddur, and I learned Umachuto Moshe B'nai Israel. And as I've said on many occasions, about 6, 7, 8 years ago, when this Siddur was first established by the conservative movement, the addition of one word was an indication of an entirely new worldview, a new perspective, because the name Miriam was added to this phrase. It's the top of page 44, both on the Hebrew side and the English side. Moses and Miriam both led the people in song. And we just finished the holiday of Pesach. We know that Moses and Miriam were leading the people across the sea, and Pharaoh's army was swallowed up. It says a great deal when you recast in your mind, your imagination, to include leadership by women, as opposed to formerly only a leadership cast in your minds by that of men. And the insertion of one little word, 4 letters, whether in Hebrew or English, accomplishes that. And it's a transformation. And then the side note is, let's remember, they're sister and brother. We don't talk about that enough. That sister and brother worked together, to lead the community. And that should add an extra little pep in our step. Top of page 44. Umalchuta beratzon kiblu alehem Moshe u'Miriam u'bnei Yisrael lecha anu shira b'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam mi chamocha b'elim Adonai Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh naratilot osefele malchutecha ra'uvanecha bokeh yam lifnei Moshe zeli anu v'yamro Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar kifad Adonai et Yaakov u'galo miyad chazak mimenu baruch ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. On page 45, Hashkivenu on the English side. Page 45. Hashkivenu Adonai, our God, to sleep peacefully. Awaken us to life, O Sovereign. Spread over us your canopy of peace. Restore us with your good counsel, and save us for the sake of your name. Shield us. Remove from us enemies, pestilence, sword, starvation, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings. For you, God, watch over and deliver us. And you, God, are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace, now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people of Israel, and over Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Page 46. V'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. V'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beinu v'emenei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. V'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz v'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamro v'nei Yisrael ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba B'vnei b'chayechon V'yomechon Uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael Bagala Bagala Uvisman Kariv V'imero Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach L'olam L'yalmei Olmaya Yitbarach Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitparvim V'yinaseh V'yadar V'yitale V'yitalal Shemei D'Kudesha Brechu Leila M'korachata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Ta'amiran B'alma V'imero Amen. We rise to the Silent Amida, page 47 through 52, or a personal prayer of our own devising. Page 54. Yitkadal v'kadash shemei Rabba B'amat Flimeru, Amen, Yeshme Rabba Mevarach, L'olam Li'olmei Olmaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'sevadash v'kudisha b'rechu l'flimeru, Amen. Tikabel tzadam v'chol kodem ha'shvay v'yimeru, Amen. Yesh l'flimeru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'moma v'yaseh shalom, Oleinu v'k'svimeru, Amen. The phrase Oseh shalom comes to us from the Bible. It's very familiar. It originates in the Bible, and then it travels and it finds its way to a number of different places within the Siddur. Significantly, it finds its way to the end of the Amidah. The very end of the Amidah, there's a paragraph called the Shalom Rav or Sim Shalom, a prayer for peace. And that's the end of the Amidah. And then 150, 200 years after the Amidah is over, somebody else comes along and makes up his own personal prayer. He's unknown to us. We don't know his name. We know his father's name. You could say, my son, I know, my son, it's Mar Bar Ravina. So we know Ravina. Ravina is the dad of the man who wrote the prayer. It's known as the Elohai Nitzor. So we don't know the composer. But the composer puts Oseh Shalom at the end of his own private prayer. And that might be one of the reasons why this little paragraph gets picked up. It's a very personal prayer, and it begins to migrate throughout the Siddur and become attached to the Amidahs throughout our entire prayer system. It probably got copied from some other prayer, but we're not sure. And then we think that the Oseh Shalom from the end of this prayer, written by the man whose name we don't know, traveled to the full Kaddish and traveled to the mourner's Kaddish. So a composer of a poem whose name we don't know is responsible for bringing the Oseh Shalom from the Bible to the Amidah, somehow, next step, to the Kaddish. And it finds its way there and remains there, especially, of course, to those of us when we have an opportunity to say the mourner's Kaddish, which is an echo of the full Kaddish. With all that in mind, a different melody for Oseh Shalom.
Shalom, b'merumav, v'yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimeru, amen.
Oseh shalom.
Yisrael v'yimenu. Amen.
There's no holiday like Pesach. There's no holiday like Passover, and how can we explain Passover to somebody who hasn't lived it and participated in it, experienced it? All the prep work, all the family's tradition, all the ceremony that we've inherited, that we transmit when we move from house to house, when we're visiting and when we're hosting. I've gotten calls from occasionally friends over the past week, many of them clergy, Christian clergy. How was Passover? And I say, we're still in it. Still here, still more to do. And again, it's very hard to explain. Even Rosh Hashanah, even Yom Kippur don't resonate the way Passover does. And maybe it's because of all the prep that goes into the holiday. And if we're so inclined, we empty the cupboards and we sweep out all the crumbs and we rearranged our packaged items. And some of us actually remove the utensils, the chametz utensils, and put Pesach utensils in their place. And we clean thoroughly and we set everything aside. And then we start, Dad, would you open the door? And then we start pulling out the old cookbooks and the recipe books, and we transform the house. And as a result of transforming the house, we transform our minds. And some of us take to heart not consuming ordinary foods during the week, and we don't go out to restaurants. And the focus is on propelling ourselves back into time to identify with the people of Israel who ate a very limited diet, a constrained provision. The old joke goes, with all the work and all the chopping and all the cleaning and all moving, gosh, they thought they had it tough. Look at all the work that we have to do. I guess it's only an old joke in Connecticut or Massachusetts. But anyway, so much prep. And it's not over, because now we have to start putting our kitchens back into place, and it takes a little while to rearrange the utensils that came out expressly for Passover, and the food items and what goes where. All that effort, all that work, and that's what makes it worthwhile. And the medieval traditional greeting for Pesach is, may you have a good and kosher and sweet Pesach. Have you ever heard the phrase, Chag Zisa b'kosher, Azisa kosher? Halavai kosher, removing all the breadstuffs. But it should be sweet because of all the work and all the effort. And when you invest the work, it becomes meaningful and sweet. There's nothing like it. And then you and I can say, we're finished. But in shul, we're not. And actually in the community, we're not. Because there's another observance that's also coming forth, and there's a great deal of preparation involved. It's Yom HaShoah. And we don't think of Yom HaShoah as a sweet occasion for obvious reasons, but you would not believe the amount of work that has gone into making Yom HaShoah happen this year, in previous years as well. And I say, thank God, and God has blessed us with Don Barry and with many others, but these past 3 years, Don Barry, for organizing a tremendous amount of effort and work. And you will see a service. And this year, it's going to be a commemoration different than anything else we've done before because of the program that Don Barry has organized. He's been in contact with some musicians at the University of Mobile. And the very long story that I'm going to say in one sentence is that Christina Zvolska, who survived the Holocaust, wrote resilient and upbeat poetry as she continued her life in Poland after the war, and that poetry came somehow to America and was set to music by a Christian composer. And because of the personality and the resilience and the defiance and the attitude of the poet, the composer chose to have the music largely upbeat. In some ways, even jazzy, I'm told. And the very condensed version is that a musician from the University of Mobile in vocal performance found out about this and arranged this musical program, and there are going to be 4 musicians, 4 singers for vocalists, 4 Christian vocalists from the University of Mobile here in the synagogue singing poetry to upbeat, even jazzy music. Why? As a testimonial to humanity and compassion and care, friendship of, and love for Jewish people, commitment to memory of the past for the present and the future. And of course, the loss, the horror is beyond description. But when I think about the gift that is being presented, not only to the Jewish community, not only to the Mobile community, but you might say even all humanity as a result of the efforts by Don Barry and these vocalists and other people behind the scenes, I say, all that prep work, it's sweet. And additionally, we have a great deal of our work being put forth and presented by middle school and high school students. And what you don't know about is that Robert Zimlick, a local artist, heard about this, and he's brought some of his own artwork as an adult artist because he wants to share his vision of support of and compassion for and being a partner with the Jewish community. And that's happening in Mobile, Alabama. Yesterday, I received 6 different emails from Dan Puckett, a friend of ours. He's a professor of history at Troy. And it's a reminder that, guess what? Everybody on this mailing list and this email list has to remember that there's a special commemoration for Yom HaShoah in Mobile. And he wants people all over the state to know about the commemoration in Mobile. But that wasn't enough, because then he went on to say, and did you know there's also a commemoration in Selma? And the commemoration in Selma is a result of a partnership between the temple and St. Paul's Episcopal Church. And then he went on to say, and there's a commemoration at Jacksonville State in Jacksonville, Alabama. Who would have thunk there's a Yom HaShoah commemoration in Jacksonville, Alabama at Jacksonville State? But then the next email was, and don't forget the commemoration in Birmingham. And then he said, and did you know that there's also a speaker from the University of Alabama in Huntsville, and she's going to be presenting remarks for Yom HaShoah at the temple in Huntsville? Dayenu, if it were only in Montgomery, where the governor is going to be presenting proclamation. Dayenu, only in Montgomery at the Alabama Holocaust Commission initiated program. But over and above Montgomery, the seat of the commission, obviously, we have presentations in Mobile, Birmingham, Selma, Huntsville, and Jacksonville, Alabama. Much of the work done by our Christian friends and neighbors. And admittedly, the topic, the memorial, is terrifying, but go past it and see the efforts of our neighbors and our friends who have such a high regard for purpose and mission to remember, to dedicate, and to support with love and honor. And I say, it rivals the sweetness of the hard work, maybe even for Pesach. Never in my dreams would I have expected that there would be 6 different Holocaust commemorations across the state of Alabama. And instead of only looking at the sorrows and the tragedies and the pain and the loss, Let us look at what we, in some way, have inspired others to build. And it's up to us to appreciate what those others have built by stepping up and participating. And to all of us here, that means attending the Yom HaShoah program here at the synagogue on Monday at 6:30. All those joining in as well, and spread the word. And if you're so inclined to go to Jacksonville or Selma or Montgomery or Birmingham or Huntsville and to spread the word, please do so. We rise for the Aleinu. Page 56. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kgoyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'goraleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Noteh Shamayim v'Yosed Haaretz, Moshav Yekaro b'Shamayim mima'al, Ushchinatu zo, Begavei Meromim, Hu Eloheinu ein od, Emet Malkeinu v'Vesulatom, Kakatu b'Toratom, V'yadat ayom, v'ashevota el levavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, b'shamayim mimal, v'al haaretz, mitachat ein od. Kakatu b'Toratecha, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, v'nemar, v'haya Adonai, le'melech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yihyeh Adonai echad, O Shema echad. In a moment, the Mourner's Kaddish on page number 58. And this evening, this Shabbat, we remember with great love, Mary Kaminsky Cohen. Is that a relative of yours? Rose Ratner, Mendel Koppel, Charles Grodsky, Lou Friedman, Harriet Sheridan, Eva Rips, Eskil Gilbert, Ned Gollum, Tony Inger, Rose Yanbury Buksar, Maurice Idelson, William Tobin, Martha Lubell, Edmund Baer, Anna Golda Novoselsky, Lucy Capiluto, Kate Sachs, Bessie Berkowitz, Sally Levinson, Isaac Mitzenmacher, Rebecca Kahn, Lamar Haynes. Are there any other names to mention tonight? Those reciting Kaddish are invited to rise. Perhaps those at home have a name to share as well. Page 58. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba. Amen. Be'olma divara chirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chaye echon u'v'yom echon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'yimaru. Amen. Yehei shemei rabba mevorach lo'olam l'olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudusha b'rechu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran ba'olma v'yimaru. Amen. Yehei Shalama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru. Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru. Amen. Urban, will you say something about your brother Charles?
Two things I want to say. Francis and I have both brother, George Sykes tonight, and great-grandfather, George Sykes. Grandfather, Isaac Mitzenmacher.
Isaac.
A name that I'm sure no one has heard. And then Charles Rasmussen is my brother, our brother.
Your name for him? Your name
For Isaac Mitzenmacher.
Yeah, that's right. I'm named for Isaac, and by the way, in case you want to know, the nickname for Isaac is Itchy. And my friend Danny Sheridan and Mark Gerson used to call me Itchy every once in a while. But speaking of both of them, Isaac Mitzenmacher, I've never met him. He had passed away already before I was born, but as I understood, he came to this country from Poland, and they moved to New Orleans. They came to New Orleans, not to Mobile, and that's my mother's dad. And an interesting point was that he studied Torah. As far as I know, that was his job, study Torah. And that was kind of an unusual occupation based on my experience, especially since my dad was in the Army and Navy store, which leads to Charles. Charles was born the day before Pearl Harbor, and he passed away several years ago. He was in the store and worked in the store, and that was sort of a typical Southern Jewish kind of guy. You know, my dad came in from old country, went to New York, came down to Mobile, opened the store eventually. My brother worked in the store. Had a great sense of humor. We laughed a lot about different things. One of my favorite pictures, I was at a New Year's Eve party, and I looked up, they had their television on in the kitchen, and looked up, and there was my brother. He had an Army and Navy store, dressed up in a uniform, and he had like general insignias on his shoulder, and he was sweeping, and he was saying, the general is sweeping out old prices.
Memories and blessings upon all. Shkoach, blessings. Minette, would you step out and pull that challah in? There's a new challah on that table right there in the center. So I'll make an announcement in just a second. Thank you, Minette. So may we all continue to remember our loved ones with with hope and with prayer, with good memory and with laughter. And may we bring those memories to life with one another.
Well, there is one
Let's
thing,
put it
when
on
your friends ask you, is Passover over? Passover is not over until all the crumbs are vacuumed up.
All the matzah crumbs are vacuumed.
What other crumbs would there be? All the matzah crumbs.
I thought the feather was for that reason, Dad. I've been going around with a feather. Is that did I get it right? I don't know if I got it right or not. One reminder, and then we'll conclude with the other song, Tfilas Haderech, Never Walk Alone. But we had an unexpected gift come in. Or Tal called me just a while ago and said, I want to bring by a special challah. And Minette, do you remember the reason? Do you remember the origination of this?
No, but it's funny because I made one and I almost bought it.
So there's a fairly recent tradition in Israel, maybe just one generation or so, of,
I think it's Mizrahi.
I think it's Mizrahi, or Tal didn't know, but she's not Mizrahi, so
But her family's a combination.
her family's mostly Polish. Her family's Polish.
But there are Mizrahi members of it, so she's kind of got a little bit of everything.
But I asked her as a Mizrahi, and she said she doesn't know. But there's a recent tradition in Israel to bake a challah in the shape of a key on the first Shabbos after Pesach. So Minette baked one at home, and in a minute, it's a shissel, yeah. Schlissel. Schlissel is a pot. Schlissel is a key. Schlissel is a key.
And it's shaped like a key, and sometimes they would bake a key inside.
So did Lois ever say anything about that?
It sort of sounds familiar, you know.
I mean, maybe it's playing off of the idea of Elijah coming to a door. I mean, who knows? But anyway, so we have a... Of course, it's Yiddish, of course. Why not, right? So...
The Greeks do it with a coin in the cake
What?
before Easter.
Okay, what? Exactly. So we'll be making Kiddush and Motzi in a minute, but before that, Tfilat Haderech, what? Yes. Are we still having people show up even if they didn't RSVP?
Absolutely.
Okay, fine. So Phil Insler, it's very exciting, is the first Jewish member of the state legislature in 50 years. And he's going to be at the temple, initiated by the Mobile Area Jewish Federation. The day after tomorrow, it's going to be at the temple at 11:30. He's going to be making some remarks. This is a really big deal. At the temple on Sunday at 11:30. Lunch $5. Such a deal. And so please come and learn what it means to have a Jewish legislator in our state house, state assembly. It's very important. Pardon me? The only one. So that's item one. That's Sunday. And Monday at 6:30 is the Yom HaShoah program, musical program here. Tuesday, and you'll be getting this when you see the email, when you check it later, is the Alabama Holocaust Commission's observance of Yom HaShoah in the Alabama State Archives. It's grown too big to be in the State House, and it's going to be on Tuesday. And I've been honored. I was asked to deliver the keynote address for the Alabama State Holocaust Commemoration, so I'll be going up Tuesday morning to deliver those remarks. So if you're inclined to join in on Zoom, it's in the information that you will be getting in this email, which just went out an hour ago. And I think that's about it for right now. So let's conclude with the song Tfilat Haderech, which means may we never walk alone.
May we never walk the road alone. May we always be sheltered in peace. hand in hand, side by side, soul by soul, may we someday all come to know. May the waves of health and joy reach the hearts of each girl and boy, from now through forever. Now through forever. May we see the path that God has given us, and may we always be happy and free. Every step you take, take it safely, and in every stride, find joy and pride. May we never walk the road alone, and may we always be sheltered in peace. Adonai oz le'amo yiteh. Adonai oz le'amo yiteh. Adonai oz le'amo yiteh. May we never walk the road alone. May we always be sheltered in peace. Sheltered in peace. Sheltered in peace. Sheltered in
To those at home, we hope to see you soon. Come on in, come on back. It's safe. Until we see each other, you are a blessing. Litrot.